What is up? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we are going to be talking about phase 3, large caps. Are large caps getting ready to outperform and show us that we are on the way to alt season? So I'll show you how I look at large caps kind of as a bundle. I've been talking about for the last few months how we are in phase 2 where Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, and we can simply go to Ethereum compared to Bitcoin and see that on this chart. Here we're on the daily. Let's move to the weekly time frame, and as you can see, by the way, we have this Fibonacci retracement high to low. The Fibonacci retracement is your golden ratio indicator, if you will. But you can see here, Ethereum's valuation did bottom against Bitcoin at around 0.11, and it is bullish for a couple reasons. One, it has moved past this 382 fib at 0.2. When you're above the 382, you are not going to put in new lower lows as long as you stay above it, so that's bullish. And also, we are above this orange moving line. That is the 50 moving average, and since we're on the weekly time frame, it is the 50-week moving average. Being above that is also bullish. So you do see a little bit of a pullback. Had this beautiful squiggly line drawn a while ago, so I would not be surprised to see Ethereum's pairing against Bitcoin maybe bottom out around 0.2. When you see this 0.22, what that means is that is 22%. Ethereum is 22% that of Bitcoin. So if you were to factor in the market cap and divide 520 billion into 234 or 2.34 trillion, you would get that 22%. So we've seen alt season when Ethereum divided by Bitcoin has moved above 0.3. But what we are looking for on our way to alt season, as this wonderful image shows us, is that we are waiting to see large caps start to do well. Now, what are large caps? It's not the mid caps or the small caps. The large caps, in my opinion, are your cryptos such as XRP, BNB, the Binance coins, Solana, Dogecoin, Tron, Cardano. You could even throw Chainlink into there as well. But we'll take a look at these ones as far as how are the large caps doing against Bitcoin. A couple other quick indicators just to consider for here and now. We are still in neutrality territory for Bitcoin as far as fear and greed, so not one way or the other. And I think this is also important to know. We just had September's seasonal return print, and we were positive. So like last year, kind of similar. We had a negative August, positive September. We did just get rate cuts again, similar to last year. So are we going to see Bitcoin and crypto really start to pump as far as Q4 is concerned? So keep an eye on this as well. But again, today's video, we're going to be talking all about phase 3 and how that's doing. Now, if you go to blockchaincenter.net, you can see that when we zoom out and take a look at the macro scale, make sure you click on year as you're looking at the altcoin season. You can see that we are still very low on this scale. We haven't gotten to altcoin year yet. I think once we start seeing those large caps pop off, similar to last cycle, that's when you'll get one of these 3 phases. So what I thought we can do is bundle up a number of these large caps together, everything that's a crypto between XRP and Cardano. Now you might be asking, how does one do that? Well, you see how I divided Ethereum into Bitcoin. Now, there's a couple other metrics you can look at. There's total 3, which is the total market cap of everything outside of Bitcoin and ETH. So again, the total market cap underneath Ethereum, you add all the cryptos out there together, the millions of them, and their total market cap would be what total 3 shows, okay? Now, there is another metric to take a look at your medium caps and small caps together, and that is others. And as you can see there, it's the crypto total market cap excluding the top 10. So again, going back to this chart, everything underneath Cardano is others. You bundle all that together, you get the others chart, okay? So what I thought we would do is we would take total three, because we're going to leave out Bitcoin and Ethereum. We talked about how in this chart, phase two, we're comparing Ethereum against Bitcoin. So we don't want to compare that as part of the large caps. I want to take out everything other than or outside of Ethereum. So what I think we can do here is we'll do total three. Okay, that's the total market cap outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we'll subtract others as well, which I just explained is the total market cap of everything outside the top 10, right? I'm showing you how I do this so you can try to replicate this as well. Now you also see we have a couple stable coins here, right? 74 billion is locked up into USDC. It always stays at $1. This is to hedge against volatility in the market. So when people are risk off, they convert their cryptos into Tether to retain their Satoshi values, Tether or USDC. So Tether and USDC, both of these add up to about 250 billion total. So I want to get rid of that. So we're going to take these tickers, USDT, USDC, we'll subtract those as well. So USDT, USDC, I hope you guys see how I got all that, divided by Bitcoin. So once again, total three, the total market cap outside of Bitcoin and ETH, others, everything outside the top 10 cryptos, and we're getting rid of the two stable coins. When we bring all this together, this is the chart we got. So this chart is showing us XRP plus BNB, the Binance coin, plus Solana, plus Doge, Tron, and Cardano. All right. We are taking a look at phase three large cap coins. Now, are we in phase three right now? And as you can see from this chart, there is no indication showing we are in phase three. Now, anytime an asset turns bullish or bearish, I like to take a look at a couple things. One being, what is the moving average it honors? So here on the weekly, it bottomed out against the 20-week moving average. And finally, when it got above the 50, again being bullish, it ran into trouble or resistance here at this dark blue moving average, and that is the 200. And now we're on the weekly, so it's a 200-week moving average. Got rejected, came back down to those lows. We came up, we are at the 200-week moving average again. And if we put on a buy-sell signal, we have that red dot. So it is showing a sell signal. We only got 1 week where candle body was above it, and it was a doji, which is undecided. So there being a red sell signal, we are using Heikin-Ashi to try to find the trends. The trend is your friend. So right now, I would not be surprised if we saw this come down. Now, whether we stop somewhere around these moving averages, you know, the light blue, the 100, the orange, the 50, the red, the 20, we'll see. But right now we are still technically not in phase three. We're in phase two, but we would want to break past the 200 as well as these former areas to the side. Now let's take a look at last cycle. And I wish this chart went further back, but you can see it only goes back as far as 2019. Now, 2019 did have that mid-cycle top. If we go to our rainbow chart, just to take a macro look, this was that mid-cycle top around July, June 2019. I wish it went back further. It doesn't, so we'll work with what we got. And you can see that June, July area is right here. But from this high to low, what we can do is we can draw a fib, and we can see that. Now let's move this out of here. We can see that with this fib, that after it bottomed, remember what I said about the 382. If you're not breaking above the 382, you can still put in new lower lows. Now I'm not sure what's going on with these wicks. I even think, you know, we could take a look at the daily and we get just some of these very spiky wicks. So I'll just treat that as outliers right now. I want to take a look where things are common here, there. And, you know, even when we factor in these bottoms, again, we didn't really get above the 382, just a couple days, and then a fake out and it went below. So it didn't hold it up there. Even when we factor in this bottom, hit that 382 perfectly, okay, put in new lower lows, and it kept going all the way down here. Now, we did have COVID, and we did have a number of other factors, but this was January 21. Alt season was happening in April and May of 21 up here. So Do we have any sort of similar indication like we did last cycle of what we have now? Now, remember, we are dealing with the resistance at the 200, and last cycle it looked like the 50 week moving average was resistance. You see it running into it once, twice, three times, and it just kept going lower. Again, we took a look at the 382. Now, once it bottomed out and then truly started to get above the 382 and stay above and hold support very nicely, which lined up with these bottoms. This was in February, March of 2021. Alt season was quickly after that. So I wonder, is there anything similar that we can say from the current cycle high to low? So we're going to draw our macro fib. And as you can see here, we are still under the 382. In fact, these times that we got above the 382 is just a wick, above the 200 week moving average is just a wick. Now we're seeing still some weakness going on here. So to me right now, to answer the essential question, are we in phase 3? Are we getting close to phase 3? I would simply say the answer is no. We are not on the verge of alt season. Not that this can't quickly turn around. You saw in the earlier part of the chart how quick that can happen, but we just don't have the structure. The one bit of good news is we are above the 50, all right? So that's good. We see some of these higher lows overall. That's good, but we're still under the 382, and the 200 week is still resistance. So what I'd like to see is, when is the 382 going to be support? Now, last cycle, we had COVID, we had some black swan events, and of course, we went lower. Not saying that would have to happen, but you can see where these lows are. If we were to just compare where those lows are and make these lows into a 382, similar to last cycle, could we be talking about our large caps tanking this much, going down to, around 10% that of Bitcoin? So again, as I talked about with Ethereum divided by Bitcoin, when we take all those large caps, divide them by Bitcoin, they're 23% of the market cap you have overall. Now, I saw a comment this last week, someone talking about, black swan events. And I'll be clear, I don't include the possibility of black swan events as part of my strategy. Now, if they happen, I'm looking to buy the dips where I see good structure, where I see confirmation. But I don't want to assume that black swans are going to happen, whether it be, some of the silly things in the news, the comet that some people are saying, well, it could be alien life, alien invasion. Oh no. Or the drones being aliens, these flying orbs being aliens. I'm not factoring that in as part of my analysis. There's been World War III FUD and fear going on for the last 3 years, it seems. How many times does World War III have to start and end? So there's a lot of different bits of FUD out there, and I think overall the market conditions are still bullish. Not that we can't get a sort of flash pullback or a flash crash, but that's not something I am anticipating. I'm just taking a look at the structure for what it is. So yes, we did have, where's 2020 here? So 2020, this was when COVID was really starting to take hold. We had a little relief rally and then just came further down. So I'm not planning on another zombie virus or anything taking over the world or anything like that. Anyways, we have to get above the 382.27, right? We good with that? We have the 382 that was once resistance, support, and it's now resistance. I think we can clean this up and get rid of that. And if you want, you can draw out a chart similar to me, or just a trend line across here and say, you know what, once we're getting above this 0.27 area, that's when large caps are going to be bullish and that we are in phase 3. All right. Now, when I'm investing, when I'm taking a look at when to buy, right now, if this was a stock or a crypto, I wouldn't buy. I'd wait for this pullback to complete, see where it has some structure, whether on a fib, moving average, what have you. But I also like to take a look at different time frames. Now, I'm more of a long-term investor or even trade investor when it comes to crypto. My time horizon when I buy, I try to buy and take profits between, after a year, so capital gains. I get some relief on that. This is my plan. And with crypto, 4 to 5 years, I'm sort of tentatively looking at when to take profits, because that's about the average of what we get between these cycle tops, or what we have gotten between these cycle tops. When it comes to stocks, it all depends. I might have a 10-year horizon, or if I'm in a stock that pumps a 20x in a couple of years, I might just take profits. But what I like to do when I am investing is I take a look at the different time frames, the monthly as well as a couple other indicators which we'll get into, such as some of the strength indexes, the RSIs, and the MACD. Those are very commonly used indicators. But let's first take a look at the monthly. You can see when that 50-month, the orange line, was broken, that has been resistance. So you can say as well, we have that support, this resistance, the 3-2. You can also just take a look at your moving average. Here, that's the indicator I use. On the monthly, we have not broken above that. All right, cool. Let's take a look at a couple other indicators across the weekly and the monthly time frame. We'll do the ultimate RSI and the MACD. Now, the ultimate RSI, okay, this is a combination of different RSIs, thrown together, and it gives you more of a clear look. I do like how we see the strength moving up. All right, so that's a nice piece of bullish news. Also, we have the MACD. It is dark green, and it can stay dark green. It can possibly get through that area of resistance, the moving average we looked at. But when we go to the weekly, what do we notice is that the RSI may be getting ready to tilt over a little bit, as well as the MACD is showing some weakening as far as the strength. So in the weekly time frame, it's showing me, what? We have on the Heikin-Ashi candles. You saw we had a sell signal before. Let's see where this move plays out. Are we going to flip red on the MACD? And if so, that might put in another local medium-term bottom, maybe somewhere again close to this 0.2, 0.19 region. We have to wait and see, but I would wait, see what is going to happen at the conclusion of this weekly sell signal and the MACD coming down. Even the RSI, what's it going to show by the time it comes down? Could the RSI bottom out somewhere around here and we're getting a little bit of bullish base forming? That is something I'm waiting to see on the RSIs. Let's take a look at the stochastic and just the regular RSI. Again, on the weekly, this would tell me that, there's probably a little bit of a pullback coming in. We even see this on Bitcoin dominance, the overall market cap of Bitcoin compared to the market. Bitcoin dominance is having a bounce off support. And so alts are going to bleed against Bitcoin when that happens. We saw an Ethereum Bitcoin at the start of the video, how that hit resistance and was coming down. And so that says, there's going to be a minor rotation in time to Bitcoin. We're still in phase 2, but when are we going to get phase 3? What can we look for as far as when phase 3 might start? On the weekly, this isn't showing me anything imminent. Now on the monthly, what we see here with the stochastic is it is still going up a little bit, right? So there's, with the RSIs on the monthly, there is a little bit to, be somewhat positive. Even with the MACD, it's still overall positive. And here we have the regular RSI still trending upward, kind of like our ultimate RSI. So that is a good thing. And we saw even last cycle, okay, you see how we have this rising strength here, but the price going lower, that's bullish divergence, okay? We saw that play out nicely here. All right, so I am wondering, are we going to get a little bit of bullish divergence this time around? Maybe a rising bit of strength? Could a pullback take us lower? If so, that again could tell you that maybe if we were to get another pullback, a decent one for our large caps, for our top altcoins, that maybe we could see some similar bullish divergence that we had last cycle. So those are just a couple of comparisons that I'm looking for. Again, I wanted to show you how I look for, the phase 3 to be started off. We are in phase 2 now. How long phase 2 lasts? In 2017, it was very short-lived. We can go back to that. I'm going to copy this so I can just enter it in again. But we can go back to ETH Bitcoin and see, phase 2 was very quick, and it included phase 3 and phase 4 in 2017 all at once. But you can also see this was the last cycle. Phase 2 took a while. It took about 2 years or over a year and a half. So is it going to be a combination of that? I think there's a lot in the data. I won't get too much into it. That gives me more of a feeling of comparisons to 2017. Not that it has to be this quick, but I am looking for an alt season sometime within the next 6 months. To me, that is what the data is showing. I'm looking to see Ethereum, Bitcoin, once it gets through that 200 moving average and gets to 618, I think that's when it could be go time. But until then, we just got to ride out these waves for Ethereum, Bitcoin. This is what I was talking about with Bitcoin dominance. Hit support here at the 100 week and the 618 fib. So the total percent that Bitcoin dominates the market is at 59%. This could come up to 60%. And while that happens, large caps, small caps, Ethereum, everything is going to rotate a little bit over into Bitcoin, at least for a moment in time, maybe over the course of the next month. So I think watch what happens during the month of October. See if Bitcoin dominance can form a top. See if Ethereum, Bitcoin can form a bottom. We'll go back to that quick. See if Ethereum, Bitcoin can get some good support here off the 50 week and the 3-2. And then lastly, if all that happens, let's take a look and see where is our large caps, our phase 3 large caps going to bottom. Is it going to bottom somewhere in here? We don't have to complicate things too much, but is it going to bottom somewhere around here and eventually break through that 382, that area, again, that was once support, is now resistance. Can it break through this area of around 0.26, 26%? Can it break through that 50 month? So this whole range right here, the 50 month to the 0.26, I think that's the area to watch for to say, okay, maybe phase 3 is imminent. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I try to describe this as thoroughly as I can so anyone can understand it. I think a lot of videos like this out there sort of speak over people's heads. So if this felt a little long-winded, again, I'm just trying to explain to everyone, even people who are new to crypto or some of this type of charting, to know what this data is that we're looking at and how it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So again, I don't think we are imminent there, but I do think we have some good levels in the charts to watch for to show when we are getting the phase 3. And when we are getting the phase 3, we are getting very close to that alt season, which is, again, when Bitcoin tops and is too expensive to keep buying. That is when we get that massive rotation, even into large caps. Ethereum, last 2 alt seasons, Ethereum did dang near 2x from those Bitcoin tops. And that's when you could see potentially your altcoins, if they are the chosen ones, do well. So right now, my plan, I'm being a little bit patient. I'm looking at some of my favorite altcoins to possibly, get done with this move. Maybe there will be somewhat of a rotation in the Bitcoin, but I'm looking for good base structure and support on some of my favorite altcoins to say, okay, this looks like a good area to buy macro-wise in the charts, but also on their individual charts as well. I try to compare both when it comes to some of my favorite altcoins. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you all are having a fantastic Wednesday and first day of October. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week. Take care.